Lily prepares for sentencing. Summer is still scheming to get Billy and Phyllis broken up. And Nick is acting like Victor 2.0. Stay tuned for this week's Restless Wrap.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everyone, Rachel Goodman here with another week of Restless Wrap. It keeps getting crazier and crazier, but I feel like I say that every single week. I probably do. What can I say? It's Y&R. So before we get started today, I just want to read some of the comments we've had over the last week actually. We had a couple of comments on the actual show itself. On the link to the show, that is. Rainy J says, yes, Nick wore suits when he worked in corporate and with Victor. That was one of the questions I had last week was, now that we're talking about Nick and seeing this very Victor-esque side to him, if this was the first time he was wearing suits and kind of parading around like this. So there's the answer to that question. And then we have Brian McGee, who has actually had 3 comments. He says, I don't like the idea of Billy getting with Summer either. It's giving me too much incest vibes, which is why I stopped watching Bold and the Beautiful. So yeah, we are going to definitely touch on Summer and Billy, and I completely agree with you, Brian, on that. He also says, if the Ashbys go to Australia, I can see Kane's dad catching them. So I actually thought it was Kane's dad who was helping, which Lily and Kane had a whole conversation about that. So, I don't know, it would be an interesting twist if Kane's dad does step in and say, no, you can't do this. And then Brian has one more comment. It's been a nice ride, but I'm going to take a break from Y&R. Probably won't watch until later in the fall. Keep up the good work, Rachel Goodman. Well, thank you, Brian, for that comment, and we will see you in the fall. Our last comment is from Tiffany, a.k.a. Klex Anvers. She has a law moment. I'll say it now, and then at the very end, I'll give our own law moment. But her law moment so far was tomorrow's episode, Kyle and Summer are at the coffee shop when Mariah walks in and sees them and says to herself, nope, before going to leave, but Kyle stops her. Awkwardness ensues. Yeah, that was something I almost added with one of my law moments because it was just so funny to see Mariah's face when she sees the two of them. She's like, oh no. I think specifically Summer, because it seems like Mariah generally likes Kyle as a friend anyway. So that was very funny. And then Tiffany's other comment was, you know what I don't understand? Summer's age. I just don't get it. How old is she? Because she was conceived after Cassie died. Cassie died when she was 15. Mariah is in her late 20s. So what? Yeah, I think that's just how they do it on the soap. I completely agree with you. But just even if we look at Maddie and Charlie, they were aged up real fast too. So one other comment in the chat so far. We have Demo, Hubby Joe, Simone. Thank you guys for all joining today. Simone says, Summer and Billy, just gross. And if they want to have Billy self-destruct, they have plenty of options to choose. One example, Victoria. Okay, so we have a lot of comments about Billy and Summer. That's a good kind of storyline for us to segue into, considering it was such a huge plot point this week. So, okay. Summer, first of all, if anyone who's watching live and you want to comment on this now, if not, feel free to comment on the YouTube video itself, or if you go over to our @RestlessWrap page, feel free to leave a comment there on Facebook and I will read your comment next time. But basically, I don't think that Billy and Phyllis, they might break up for other reasons. I don't think Billy would ever get with Summer. He just, as we saw this week, Summer has once again gone to flirt with him and just be just very overbearing, like, oh, you know you want to get with me. And Billy's just like, no, and wants no part of this. And actually, it was so, I know this is jumping ahead, but near the end of the week when Summer went to actually go and hit on Billy and try to get with him to win the bet, Billy, I felt awkward for Summer. Billy was definitely, I would say he was handling it well in the sense that he's like, no, we're done, stop this. I think that is great. What's not so great, Billy, is that you have not told Phyllis what's going on. If Billy had told Phyllis from the start, or from the start would have been the ideal point of time to discuss this with her. But if he had, maybe the first or second time it had happened, if Billy had gone to Phyllis and said, hey, your daughter is hitting on me and she won't stop. that Phyllis probably wouldn't have been able to squelch it then and there. And because because Phyllis and Billy both were in communication over this, it would have made everything easier. They probably could have found different living arrangements. But now Billy has kind of put himself in a situation where he's setting himself up to get in trouble. Even though I can tell from, just watching this, the way that they're playing this, Billy does not want her, but he's not handling it 100% the right way in terms of getting the problem to resolve itself. Just telling Summer no is obviously not working because she keeps trying, and he needs to get back up involved at this point, and he needs to actually be more proactive to get this to stop. If he doesn't, as we saw in the previews for next week, it looks like Phyllis walks in on something that makes it look like Billy and Summer are actually doing things. So I know we jumped ahead toward the end. Let's kind of rewind and see how we got up to this point. So first, near the beginning of the week, we had a lot of drama with Phyllis and Summer. It kind of had something to do with Billy in the sense that she wanted, it comes out that Summer knows that all right, I am jumping ahead. Let's start at the beginning where Phyllis basically says that she knows that Summer was manipulating Jack and confronts her about that, and they start having words about everything that Summer's doing, even though Summer is basically denying this at first and denying that she was doing any kind of manipulation, but it's just even more manipulating how Summer reacts. And Summer starts really pushing. This is at the girls' day event that Sharon has. Summer starts really pushing that with Jack, you were free to be your wild self. With Billy, he's wilder than you. So you have to play the stable role, which isn't you. And she just keeps going on and on about how, because Phyllis is the wild one, she needs someone like Jack who is stable. And then this is funny. This didn't make it to the lol moment, but Nikki was there, and her response is, "Nobody's looser than Phyllis, so I agree with that." But then Phyllis says, well, if Summer's theory was correct, Billy would be with stable Victoria. And Victoria, who's in attendance, is like, I'm here, right? So it was just it was a serious conversation, but it was really funny. And I always love when they get all of these women together because the dynamic is fascinating to watch and actually very comical. Then the big key point here at this, at Sharon's, I guess, girls' day. It wasn't really a night. It was all the potential bridesmaids getting together to try on dresses. But the big thing is that she kind of adds a little bit too much information about herself, which is why Summer ends up figuring out that Nick is the one who slept with Phyllis. But here, Sharon says, yeah, well, all couples have problems, even if they live together. Nick and I almost broke off the engagement just a couple weeks ago. So, of course, everyone's like, what? And Summer is now really worried because she's thinking, well, they shouldn't get married and all this drama. And then Mariah ends up telling Summer that Nick spent a night away when all of this happened, but now they're okay because they work things out. Now, obviously, Mariah didn't mean to gossip. She was just saying that Sharon and Nick are fine now, and that's that. But Summer, hearing this, she ends up later using this information to kind of compare notes with Kyle, and that's when they figure out, oh, Nick was away at the same time that Kyle walked into Phyllis's and found that there was another man there. So the cat's out of the bag with that. Summer figures out it was Nick who slept with her mom, and her dad and mom, actually, she finds out that her parents slept together again, and she starts acting like a bratty child over it. And if anyone is listening right now in the chat, if you're listening live, or if you're listening after the fact, the question is, how do you think everyone involved in this whole situation, how do you think that they're handling it? What do you think, for anyone that's been watching a long time, and who saw Summer before she went away and came back and became this manipulative character, why do you think she's doing this? Is it just because she went away with a married man and that changed her? Or do you think that there are other issues that are kind of, shaping who she's become. So basically, we have that conversation with Kyle and Summer where she figures out that Nick was the one who slept with her mom. We have a whole other set of drama happening with Ashley and Billy we'll get to in a second with Jaboutique. But after Summer figures this out about Nick and Phyllis, she first confronts Phyllis and basically lays into her. I actually felt bad for Phyllis. Now, I've never watched the soap when Phyllis was, I guess, being Phyllis and doing her own manipulation. So I've always known Phyllis as kind of being, like, I've never had a problem with her is my point. She's never done anything manipulative while I was watching. She's never done anything crazy. The worst I've seen her do was sleep with Nick. And even when she was sleeping with him, they clearly felt bad about it the next day. That being said, I'm well aware that it's this whole thing where Nick always goes back and forth between Phyllis and Sharon, and I get why Sharon would be especially upset over this whole situation. And I get why Summer would be upset considering it's her mom and her parents just slept together and she found out about it. But Summer was kind of digging, first of all. Second of all, Summer really laid into her mom way too harshly over this. Especially because Phyllis was technically broken up with Billy. They were done. She kicked him out of the house. Well, the apartment, sorry, not house. But basically Summer threatens Phyllis and says she's going to go and she's going to tell Billy and that Billy deserves to know the truth. But really the agenda is that Summer just wants to get Billy for herself. So what ends up happening is Phyllis and Summer rush over to Jabo. Billy's not there. They kind of have this really funny scene with Gloria, where Gloria says, well, if someone's going to get me my favorite cappuccino the way I like it, then you will have priority. And I think Summer races to get her this cappuccino, and Phyllis is like, you know what? Screw this. And she just storms into the office to see if Billy's there. He's not. Phyllis and Summer end up having an even more in-depth conversation where Phyllis is asking her not to tell Billy about everything that happened and is trying to explain why it happened and that it was regretted and that isn't going to happen again, and then tries to ask how her relationship with Summer went so far, off the rails, and she's trying to fix this, but Summer just obviously wants no part in it and so I don't think Summer wants to reconcile with her mom. I think she's just out to get her at this point. And the thing is, I guess I kind of get it that she had all these terrible things happen to her. She woke up. But I'm wondering if there's something deeper that happened with her mom that we don't know about yet, or that there's some deeper reason why she's so angry with her mom, because that's what I'm sensing, that it's not really about Billy, that it's just the fact, like, I think even Kyle said this, it could be anyone with her mom, and she just wants to take them down. Well, she wants to get them in her pants so that she breaks up the relationship with her mom. So that's my theory on the whole situation, but I think that there's more to the story with what's going on with Summer than we know right now. And I'm almost wondering if that guy she was married to should come back into the picture in Genoa City just so we can figure out what's going on with her, but maybe they're not ready to do that yet. So Phyllis gets Nick involved. Nick shows up, and when he does, he tries to talk to her like a father, like very kindly and sweetly, and he doesn't. So, okay, I get that Summer is really against Phyllis, and I'm sensing that she doesn't like her very much, but I thought that Summer and Nick actually got along. So when Nick shows up, and now Summer's kind of, her tune has become, oh, well, Nick, I think you should tell Sharon, and I think that Phyllis should tell Billy. But I don't really understand why. I mean, obviously she isn't the biggest fan of Sharon, but I was sensing before that Summer really didn't want Billy to be with Phyllis because she just wanted them to break up just because, well, one, she's going around saying she wants Billy, but then two, she just wants to break them up because it's her mom and she doesn't want her mom to be with him. But now it's like, okay, she's trying to break two couples up. Something is not adding up to me here. And I wanna hear more. I want to find out more about Summer to find out why she's behaving this way. But the biggest takeaway from this whole thing with Nick and Summer is that he writes her a check. Billy walks in toward the very end and doesn't know why, but he sees that, Summer basically, Nick writes her this check so she'll be quiet. And at first, Billy walks in and Nick is worried that Summer, who hasn't really accepted the money yet, is going to tell Billy everything. But she doesn't. She refrains, and that's that. And Nick gives her the check, and basically, I just see him becoming more and more like Victor as this is going along. The mannerisms, like he's still Nick. He still seems like he has not lost his kinder soul, and his gentler soul, I guess I should say. But his mannerisms, the way that he's walking into a room, the stern looks that he's kind of giving now, he is really starting to act like Victor. And that whole check thing, he tells Summer that he regrets doing it and that it's not him, but he just is, I just couldn't believe it when he got out that checkbook and started writing his, basically writing an amount of money, not just one check. We find out later from Summer that it's going to be a monthly installment, so she stays quiet. I was surprised she did, though. Really surprised. But then again, it's money, and right now, what does she need? Money, considering she blew through her own. We have a couple of comments in the chat. So we have Simone Francois says, Summer's issue is with Phyllis, and until we know why, I will stay confused about why she wants to hurt her. I think Summer is disappointed in her dad. She clearly holds him to a different standard than others. I completely agree with you on that. I think that that's one of the issues is that she, for whatever reason, I'm confused like you, Simone. I don't know why she's against Phyllis, but I think that's what this is all about. But she's getting Nick involved, and I wouldn't think she'd want to hurt Nick. So I agree with you 100% on that. Brittany Duran, hey everyone. Hey Brittany, welcome to the chat. So the last thing to kind of say with this before we get to, before we move on here, is that basically Summer and Kyle have another conversation where Summer basically is confiding everything in Kyle. They're still talking about this ongoing bet. Kyle almost gives up the bet, but I just want to say this. Kyle and Summer, I want them to get together, and I feel bad for Kyle. He obviously still cares about her. I wasn't watching the soap when they were dating to know what happened, but Summer gave us the basics of the relationship, that they were together. She really wanted to be with him. When they got together, I guess they slept together, and then she dumped him. So there's obviously a lot of tension there for that, but Kyle, I could see that he still wants to be with her. And Summer, I think that deep down when she gets over the pain of everything that's happened to her, I think she wants not Billy. I think she really wants Kyle, because when I see her and Billy together, it's not even like, it feels like a gross situation all around. I am sensing no chemistry from Kyle going to her, but then I'm not even sensing that Summer really likes Billy. I think she just is doing it to hurt Phyllis. I think that's all it comes down to. But in this conversation with Kyle, she tells him that she's doing it because she wants to be with Billy, but she's saying the words, I'm not seeing it or sensing it in her. Like, it just doesn't feel like she really means that. She might think she means it, but I don't think that she actually really truly means that. I think that if there's anyone, I think she might still care about Kyle. I mean, she's confiding in him like he's her best friend. Who else is she telling the truth to? Just Kyle. So I hope later on down the line, she does end up with Kyle. But I have a feeling it's going to take a while, because this is a woman, who has a lot of issues she has to work through first. Phyllis ends up showing up right in the middle of this conversation with Billy. Billy leaves. Phyllis and Summer, I guess, kind of have this awkward short conversation where Phyllis says, I can't believe that you could just be bought like that. If I knew that's all it took, I would have written you my own check. But it just clearly, Phyllis is just like, is this my daughter? Even though it sounds like, from what I hear, Summer is behaving the same way Phyllis used to act. And then we get back to everything with Summer walking into Billy's office, sneaking in more like it, and then trying to seduce him once more, and it failing epically. And just the whole thing is very awkward at this point. So, all right, guys, before we get to our next topic, I just want to let you know that if you really enjoy this show, we've got a whole bunch of others you might like, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There's no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channels, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and I will thank you on the air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk. At this point, I just want to let you guys know that we are going to take some live calls. So if you're listening live, it's 5:30 Pacific Standard Time on August 19th. The number to call in is 424-253-0749. Again, if you're listening live right now and you want to talk about YNR, the number to call is 424-253-0749. Okay, so we've touched on everything happening with Summer, Phyllis, Billy. There was a little bit of drama happening with Ashley and Billy with Boutique. Just want to mention that once again, Ashley has proven to be the reasonable one, saying, "Why don't you just open one store?" But Billy it's going to ruin his vision, so he wants to open a whole bunch. So Billy, I don't know. It seems like the plan right now, and Kyle's a little bit involved in this as well, with Ashley. They kind of want to take down this boutique idea. Sounds like Jack's kind of getting involved with Dark Horse, and that it may end up where the board kind of ousts Billy, but I feel like Kyle has a little bit more up his sleeve than just that, and we may see Kyle as the CEO of Jabo eventually, because I still don't trust him business-wise. He still strikes me as the guy who might side with Ashley, but then he'll turn his back on her to get his way to weasel his way into the company. Okay, so let's touch on Keenan Lilly a little bit, because we had a lot of drama with them. Okay, so we kind of started off this week, I should say, Lilly and Kane talking about, they were with the kids, basically talking about Lily's sentencing, and how the hearing isn't going to be for a couple of weeks. Now, at this point early on, Lily still doesn't know about everything with Kane buying the passports or Kane's dad helping. All she really knows is that she has to prepare for the sentence, or for the sentencing, I should say. And they have a family dinner, and Lily is just kind of saying, well, we need to spend as much quality family time together as we can, because I don't know what's going to happen. If it is 20 years, I'm not going to be here for you guys. So eventually, Kane talks to Lily privately. So during this dinner, Charlie and Maddie end up saying, all right, well, we're going to excuse ourselves. Why don't you guys enjoy the rest of the dinner together alone? And turns out they want to go talk to Devon and try to get him, I guess, to change his mind, or maybe not to go against Lily in this hearing. Meanwhile, Kane and Lily finally talk about the passports and how, not the passports, but about going to Australia with the passports and how he booked the tickets. And Lily is really hurt by this. She says, is this who you are? Someone who teaches their kids to run away from their problems? Now, my problem with Lily in this moment is, I remember the whole Juliet situation. I remember how Kane lied about it. I remember the hole he dug himself into. I remember how he needed to pay off a guy, so he went into his children's savings account and took money so that he could pay off this guy, money they were going to use to pay for their school. So, that being said, does Lily really want to ask him, is this who you are? I think at this point if this had been my husband and he had done, like, if I had a husband like Kane, let's put it that way, and he had done other things that were very questionable, and then for some reason, I was about to be sentenced to 20 years, and he did something like this, I wouldn't be surprised. So I was wondering why she was so surprised, because it just didn't seem Like, it seems very characteristic of Kane. So for her to say, is this who you are? I was like, no, Lily, yes, you know this is who he is. You've been married to this man. You guys just got back together after he did some shady things. Yes, this is who he is. So basically, Lily is like, she gets pissed off, which is understandable. She pushes Kane away, and that's that. She is like, nope, I don't want to deal with you right now, and just pushes him away. And it almost felt like we were back with the Juliet situation because of how she was treating him. Which, I mean, I don't blame her. She even got mad because Kane withheld the information from her that she was the one who caused the accident, even when he knew, and told Charlie not to tell her. So I understand why she would be mad. She's just trying to do the right thing, and because she didn't come forward when in the very beginning, it made her look bad. It made her look like she was lying and trying to withhold information when it wasn't her, it was Kane. So I understand why she would be frustrated, but I'm surprised that, okay, I wouldn't be surprised at Kane doing this, so she shouldn't have been either. That's my point. So meanwhile, Charlie and Maddie, they go to they try to find Devon. At first, they don't agree about it, but then once they argue it through, Maddie says they're twins. She's not going to just let him go by himself, even if she doesn't agree with it. So they both try to talk to Devon, but when they get to his apartment, he's not there. They don't even know where he is. Nate comes up on the elevator and basically has them come in to talk to him, and he just tells them that they shouldn't get involved, that Devon's going through a lot right now, and that they just need to let it go and not try to even bother, which it's just a hard situation. I was wondering if Devon was actually going to talk to them at all. I wanted to see that scene between the twins and Devon just to see how he was going to treat them, because obviously it wasn't their fault at all. And if he was going to be rude to them, I wouldn't have liked that at all, but I would just be curious if they would have listened to him, or sorry, if he would have listened to them. No, he wouldn't have. As we see later, there's a conversation between Lily and Devon where basically she gets him coffee and she's trying to talk to him, and he's just giving her the coldest of cold shoulders and just wants nothing to do with her. I don't know that he would have been rude to the twins, but he's just not in a place where he's going to talk to Lily or try to even back down from his stance that she needs to go to prison. I will say this, though. When Hillary was trying to get back with Devon, he kind of did, I don't want to say the same thing because it's obviously different, much different circumstances. He was being very cold with Hillary in the beginning, and finally he came around to her after a very long time of being stubborn. And we had a very quick glimpse of Devon having a change of heart with Lily, I thought, at the end of that conversation where he's just kind of looking at her like, you can see that there's still anger, but there might be a hint of forgiveness there too. So I'm wondering what it's going to come down to. I think that Kane buying those tickets to Australia, I think that's going to end up coming in. This is kind of entering into predictions territory, so I'll leave it for later. But I'm just thinking that we're at a place right now where I feel like Devon might come around. I just don't know if it's going to be in time for the hearing in a couple of weeks. I still want to see more with him and more with how he's grieving over Hillary. I feel like that was brushed over too quickly. I said that last week too, but I'll say it again because the grief of losing someone that you love, that you're with, that you're married to, is just not something that you can just get over. And obviously Devon's not just getting over it, but I feel like that would have been a really interesting topic for them to touch on. I'm sure over the course of 40 plus years they've touched on it before, but I think it just because even if they have, this was a unique situation, and I still feel like we needed to actually go through some of that grieving process with Devon, and not under the context of, oh, I'm mad at my sister for causing this accident. So that, I wish we could see more of that. I'm hoping in the future we get that before they do away with the storyline. So one thing I didn't expect was Phyllis coming to visit Lily. When she was talking to Michael in the scene before, she made it very obvious that she didn't think that she didn't think that she feels like Lily, it would be very justified that there are repercussions for her actions. I don't know if Phyllis agreed with the whole 20 years situation, but she was obviously very mad because Hillary was a really dear friend to her. But when Phyllis and Lily end up talking, Phyllis took a very rational stance. And this is another thing, and I know I said this earlier in the episode, in today's show, but just another example of Phyllis being rational and kind of doing things in a very sane, calm fashion. So if Phyllis actually says to Lily, I was so angry and wanted you to be punished, but even as I sit here looking at you, I realize that you are an easy target. So it's obvious that Phyllis, even though she's angry and she's being very honest with Lily, she's also recognizing that this wasn't really Lily's fault because it was an accident. And Lily tells Phyllis, I'm going to pay and I should. And so it was just a very honest conversation between two people who you wouldn't expect would be discussing, would be talking to each other after everything with Hillary. But I'm glad that they are. And I kind of hope that now that they've had this conversation, maybe they can grow as potentially friends and just kind of talk to each other. They started this off very honestly, so it's a good sign for them to grow some kind of friendship is what I think. And that's another thing I'll comment on. Speaking of Lily saying I'm going to pay and I should, this whole week, Lily was clearly feeling not only guilt, but she's taking the responsibility of her actions. And she was, very, very angry with Kane. She ends up getting over it and they talk and they're fine. But she was very angry with him that he would basically try to escape the reality. Not to mention when Lily tells Michael about the Australian plan, he confirms exactly. Okay, when I found out Kane was doing this, I Googled what the if they could be extradited if they went to Australia Australia would just send them back. And yeah, Australia is a country where they extradite if you're a U.S. citizen fleeing the country and you've done something wrong, like murdered a person, accidentally or not, yeah, they extradite. So Michael says that. He brings it up. There is no... If they flee to Australia, they'd really have to, I guess, hide and probably wouldn't get very far. And then they'd be ruining the lives of their children too. So yeah, Kane did not think this through, and whoever was advising him, like his dad maybe, didn't think this through either. So, but what I was saying is that with Lily, she took this this whole week and basically was saying, okay, well, I need to pay for this. She obviously feels badly about it, awful, and it's not ever going to leave her. And she's willing to accept whatever consequences come her way, even if it is the 20 years. And basically what Michael reminds her of is hope that it's the best, hope that it's just a suspension of your license and maybe some community service, but prepare for the worst, which could be the 20 years in prison. Do I think, okay, so yeah, I think that the 20 years is, considering the circumstances, I think the 20 years would be way too much, but technically it was Lily's fault. For her to get away with it and have no consequences, yeah, I understand. But yeah, there should be something, but 20 years is a lot. Okay, so with our remaining time here, okay, we touched on Kane and Lily, Summer, everything with that. We had a little nice date scene between Ashley and Neil, which seems to be going really well for them at the moment. We had an interesting kind of side story. I don't have much to say on this yet because he just kind of got introduced. But last week, when I say last week, I mean, I guess 2 weeks ago now, when we saw that guy, some random guy in like a wife beater, like that white wife beater shirt, when he was piecing these pictures together of Nick, JT, just everyone involved in the JT storyline. We had Victor in there too. We didn't really get much other than him piecing these pictures together, but now he introduced himself to Nick, and Sharon, and we saw a little bit more. I think this week was the first week we saw him with the picture of Victor. And in the previews next week, we see that he actually introduces himself to Nikki and Victor. I don't know what he's up to. My husband actually came up with this theory that it was actually JT. Ray is JT, but Ray got a facelift or something crazy, which wouldn't be surprised if that's the situation. I hope that's not what they did, but yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all. What I think it is, and okay, I'm going to save it for predictions. How about that? So let's go ahead. The only other thing to quickly mention, Nate and Victoria, I kind of see this being something that is an ongoing storyline. Nate is now Nikki's doctor, and Victoria is worried that Nate is going to kind of dig deeper and find out why Nikki's MS is flaring up and find out that it has to do with JT. So Victoria is very hesitant to have this Nate guy in their lives because she's worried what he's going to figure out. We have a comment from Kimmy Sylvester. I think he knows about the murder, the Ray guy. Yeah, that's okay. So let's get to our law moment, and then we'll touch on predictions. Okay, so I had a couple things for the law moment. First one is, okay, in the very beginning of the week, when we had the girls' time at Sharon's, Phyllis says to Sharon and Mariah, she goes, "Where did Summer learn to do something like that?" And then Sharon and Mariah were just like, "Yeah, from you, obviously." It was just so funny. I mean, they didn't even say that, but it was just obvious the way that Sharon and Mariah were looking at Phyllis that they were saying, "Oh, yeah, Summer probably got it from you." And then the other law moment I had, and this kind of felt like Austin Powers a little bit, when Nick and Sharon walked into the curtain, the white curtain that earlier on in the week, Nikki and Victor had gotten massages. Well, Nick and Sharon go into the curtain later, and you're not in the curtain with them. You're hearing them talk from outside the curtain, and all you hear them saying is, "Oh yeah, that's the one." And it almost sounded like they were, I don't know, doing stuff, if you know what I mean. But then the camera goes inside the curtain, and they're sampling food for the wedding. Oh yeah, that's the one. I was dying from laughter. It was hilarious. So, let's go ahead and get to our predictions.
And now,
AfterBuzz predictions. So, we have first thing I'm predicting, and I think we were just talking about Ray. So let's start with Ray first. My prediction with Ray is that he is going to be, just like Kimmy said, that he knows all about the murders. I think that he is the one who, I think he's acting like, I'm going to go with undercover cop or detective, and that maybe Paul hired him to come in and check this out. Maybe he didn't, though. Maybe this is like a federal guy who's been sent undercover, and he is on to them because of something with the phones or just something deeper than what Paul would be able to figure out. And so he's here to kind of be undercover, be their friends, find out things that he wouldn't have found out otherwise. Either that, so it's either that scenario, or maybe this Ray guy, whose name is obviously not Ray. I mean, that's my other prediction, but maybe he's also a friend or business associate of JT in the underworld, and he's come to avenge his friend, or avenge his crime partner, or avenge his boss. We don't know, or avenge somebody, or avenge JT, however he was connected to him. So I feel like it could go either way with that. So let's touch on predictions for, let's go with predictions for Sharon and Nick and Billy and Summer. Phyllis, Billy, and Summer. So Nick and Sharon, I feel like it's directly connected to everything happening with Summer, Billy, and Phyllis. I think that Summer is probably going to keep her mouth shut, and I think that Phyllis is going to find out that something's going on with Billy. Well, that something is going on, even though it's not really going on. But Phyllis is going to find out something is happening, even if it's not really happening, between Billy and Summer, as we see from the previews when she walks in and Summer has only her bra on in front of Billy. Right now, all Phyllis told Nick was that she thought that Summer had feelings for Billy, and that was all she thought it was, that she wants him, is how she put it. But then Phyllis was like, no, that can't be. Crazy idea. And Nick agreed, and Nick was like, ew, that would be gross, but yeah, I agree. So they don't even think that that's a possibility. But I think that Phyllis is going to see that whole situation where, Summer's just wearing a bra. I think Phyllis is going to think that it was both of them hooking up. I don't think she's going to think it's just, I don't think she's going to see it for what it is, which goes back to what I've been saying all along, which is, Billy, you should have told Phyllis what Summer was doing. So I feel like that's going to come out. And then from there, I feel like Summer may end up telling Billy the truth, even though she's been paid off by her dad. I think she will still tell him, maybe in confidence. And then Billy is going to either tell Sharon, or he's going to threaten Nick, or something is going to happen where it comes out. And I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where Nick and Sharon are on the altar, and it's going to come out then and there, because what would be the better, soapy thing to do than for it to come out when two people are about to get married, especially now that we have even Abby as one of the bridesmaids. So that's the whole thing is going to be very dramatic now that all the females on the show are bridesmaids, and they're probably going to have all the males as, groomsmen. So that's what I predict with that. We have a couple of other comments here. Kimmy Sylvester says, Sharon's invite for Abby to be in the wedding party. Kimmy, also Ray knows Arturo. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because we still don't know everything about Arturo, so that could be a possibility. I think, let's see if I have any other thoughts in terms of predictions before we end for today. Lily and Kane, my prediction there is just that I feel like what I was starting to say earlier, but then stopped for this moment, is that that it's going to come out right in the middle of the hearing. Maybe it's going to seem like the judge wants to go lenient, but then it's going to come out somehow that Kane bought these tickets to Australia, which is going to hurt her case, and then he's going to give her the full sentence, and then she's going to end up in jail. That's what I think about that. So, on that note, my name is Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Rach Goodman. Also, be sure to go over to our Facebook page at Restless Wrap. Like and follow, and you'll always get the link. And if you ever have comments and you want to leave them there, go ahead and do that, and I will read them live on the air. But until next time, thank you for tuning in for Restless Wrap.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.